We expect this guy to be arraigned later today. And both Dan Bongino last night and Kash Patel with me this morning suggesting we're going to learn a lot more then. What do you think we're going to learn?
We'll probably learn a little bit about the social media posts or anything that the FBI learned that might be motivational. They'll try to start to give us a sense of what they think his motive was on that day or his thinking was on that day, whether they believe he had any co-conspirators, whether his parents had any inkling what he was doing. I mean, he lived in his mom's house, apparently was assembling these pipe bombs there. That's certainly the inference in the affidavit. What does that mean? What did she think was going on in the house? So there'll be a lot of things that, the little tidbits today, but even though we'll get some direction today, it's going to take a few weeks before the FBI comes to a final assessment of what this young man was thinking. If he did in fact plant these bombs, what was his ultimate goal, and whether he had other plans because he started doing this much earlier. So we'll get a little taste today, and then probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll get a more complete picture. And Congress is also going to be briefed today at 2 o'clock. Some of the key committees, including Chairman Barry Loudermilk on the J6 committee. So Congress will get some information today, too, that could be interesting as well.
So we understand he lived in a $611,000 house in Virginia with his mom. Look, the parents were divorced. The dad runs this bail bonds company. The dad sounds like, I don't know if I can fairly call him a BLMer, but he certainly was kind of active on that front. The Daily Wire reporting that he accused this DA who was looking into his bail bonds company of targeting a minority-owned company, played the race card, hired Benjamin Crump, which is like, hello, that's one man off of Al Sharpton. All of his complaints along those lines were rejected. It turns out there were some real problems with the bail company. So that's the dad. Split from the mom. The mom, Jim, we saw her social media last night. The team and I went through it. Looks very sweet. I can't find anything out about her job, but she seems like a really sweet lady. She's posting things about like how she's in a sewing club. She is posting pictures of her kids who are, now older, about how much they make up her heart and how much she loves them. She's got sweet pictures of herself with friends. I mean, like, in no way does she seem like a radical protest kind of person, even political at all. Every post is loving and about friendship or family and so on. And then you got the son. And I think he's got maybe a couple of siblings, but the son, the one who's been arrested, is Brian Cole Jr. And this is what his grandmother, Loretta, told the Post about him. Quote, he's almost autistic-like because he doesn't understand a lot of stuff. I hope he's not talking. She also alleged he's very naive. He would not hurt a fly. He's just not that kind of person. I don't believe this at all. He's not a terrorist. Now, what's your nana gonna say about you? Pretty much anyone's nana would say that about them. But everyone's saying that this kid was like reclusive, couldn't make eye contact with people. So how do you, as an FBI guy, how do you factor in those parents and this news we've heard about the son as of today?
Well, it's the old nature versus nurture. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, certainly with the mother doesn't seem that way. You mentioned, or others have mentioned, and the grandmother has mentioned, autism, could be Asperger's syndrome. A lot of people forget Kaczynski with his defense team. They were actually floating the Asperger's syndrome as part of their defense, but Kaczynski fought it off. He didn't want to be seen in any way, shape, or form as having mental incapacities whatsoever. So look, I mean, he's 25 years old. He's even though he's living at home, we don't know what kind of travels he had. Did he visit other people? Did he go away for long weekends? I hate the word radicalized, but was he on these different websites and people were convincing him this, that, or the other? I have a feeling this guy operated pretty much as an island, as an isolationist. And he just came up with his own ideas along the way. They fomented perhaps for years. Then all of a sudden, hey, a pipe bomb of some sort would be a good idea. I know, I'll make 2 of them. I'll start way back in October of 2019, before a whole lot of controversies even kicked in. It's pre-COVID, certainly pre-George Floyd, pre any election anomalies, however you want to characterize those. So this guy, there were seeds planted in him. Again, nature, nurture, it'll take time to determine that. But at some point, he decided to lash out. Now, there are different ways of lashing out. He could have been a spree killer. He could have been a serial killer. He could have been, someone who, burned a narcissist, burned buildings down. He decided to make these bombs and then go and basically place them. And bombers are their own separate ilk, especially serial bombers. And the more successful, or the more times they plant a device, an IED, improvise explosive device, and in fact it detonates, the better they get, the more proud they are of themselves. This guy had great pride, no doubt, in the construction of these two devices. They didn't go off. He was probably okay with that. Maybe he didn't truly want to hurt anyone. I don't want to give that to him as a criminal defense at all. But just making those bombs and causing the uproar that he did. And again, at these two, if you will, almost polar opposite, targets, certainly on a political scale, it seems to make one or the other would have made a lot more sense than both.
Yeah.
But he chose to do it this way.
That's totally right.
And he just, and I said to your producer earlier, maybe he's into gaming, and this was like and the walk. I finally got that. I watched several times the video the FBI put out only back in October. It should have been out much sooner, of course, by the other administration. But just watching him walk aimlessly along the streets in D.C., alleys, stopping, double backing, waving to police cars, that caused a whole big conspiracy theory, of course, which no one could rule out. And back then, was it a woman? Was it a man? This whole gate analysis people were doing. I don't know how much that played in, but there's just so much there with this guy. But this may have just been some sort of an intellectual, mental challenge for him. And whether he's happy or not happy that the devices didn't detonate and no one was hurt, we'll have to find that out. But certainly that's to his advantage that no one was hurt in terms of these charges. So a lot of questions about this guy.
John, we heard Cash say that one of the things they absolutely would do, he spoke sort of generally, but he was obviously talking about this case, is check with local authorities, with state authorities, and with juvenile authorities to see if there's any record. Because this guy graduated from high school, the one around the corner from you, where your son went, in 2013, right? In 2013, did not go to college, but for sure they're looking into whether he has some sort of a record. That just seemed to be a red flag to me, that they may have found something on the juvenile record, which would be under seal, which would not be accessible by the media, but by law enforcement, it would be. And that's one of the many things I'm sure they're going to look into. It's not unusual to see somebody who is potentially on the spectrum, as the grandmother says, who is brilliant, who's actually very, very smart, but has zero social skills. That combination is actually kind of fairly common.
It is. And, sometimes in that loneliness, was a theory that one of the people I was talking to last night about, if you're trapped in that sort of world of isolation because you're socially awkward, you're on the spectrum, so you have difficulty in the social world, sometimes doing something like this is simply a thrill adventure. And we're trying to ascribe a political motive, but it was just Ferris Bueller's Day Out, and I'm going to do something crazy today and see what happens. And so we just don't know yet. And that's one of the many theories that I know the FBI is looking at today. Was this just a thrill adventure tied to the headlines at the time, and it didn't really have a political motivation? There is something unique that we found recently on the videotape. Chairman Barry Loudermilk's team in Congress, House Judiciary Subcommittee, found it. On his journey there, when you looked at the original FBI map, it looks like he's walking all around. But at one point, he actually kneels down and sits for a period that we previously didn't know about. It was at the Congressional Black Caucus Institute building. And that, on the map, it just showed it as part of the journey. But he actually stops there. My understanding, that was a very important moment there because he was long enough there where no one else is visible in the picture. They knew they had the right phone. It's one of the few places he kneels down. And there's a moment where the phone pings are multiple over a period of 30, 40, 50 seconds. And so that's interesting. Did he pick that for some reason? Was he just simply tired and needed to kneel down for a second, take a break? Was he thinking of putting a bomb there and then decided not to do it? Those are all things I'm sure he's being questioned about now. But that was a part that 4.5 years later, all of a sudden you see this new video footage, like, wait, he stopped there for a second. He kneels down for a second. Was he putting something there? Did he find this place interesting, or was he just simply winded from carrying the bombs in his back pocket? We'll find out more, I think, during these interviews and then the behavioral analysis. On the juvenile thing, one of the things that almost certainly will do, particularly when you hear someone being talked about as being on the spectrum, did his teachers in high school, grammar school think he had some sort of spectrum disorder? That'll almost certainly be something that the FBI will zero in on, because it'll give you a little bit of sense of his arc as a person, as a personality, and his academic and his intellectual capabilities.
Jim, can we talk about the gunpowder? Is that the word we're looking for? I don't know. They talk about this homemade black powder that went into the pipe bombs, which I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, is what makes it a pipe bomb. I mean, it's the bomb part of the pipe bomb. How do you get that? That doesn't seem like something, I mean, you can't get that at the Radio Shack.
No, not necessarily, but you can, in fact. I'm wondering if he somehow got a box or two of shotgun shells, carefully took them apart, took the powder out of there, perhaps other ammo. There may be other commercial ways to get powder in small amounts that he could, in fact, place in there. I don't think it was a substantive amount that really would have, brought a building down or anything like that, from what I'm reading. And it was homemade, I think, is the word that was used in the criminal complaint.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, the Chinese may have homemade it, thousands of years ago, but I'm sure he somehow got it commercially, but he may have taken it out of some other device and repurposed it, of course, for the design of this particular device itself.
So you don't think these don't look like sophisticated bombs, but Kash Patel kept saying they were viable bombs. Like, it seems to me what they're saying is the timer didn't work, like the detonation didn't work, but that the bombs were functional. And that leads me to the question about the timer. So they're saying it was a white kitchen timer, old school. Most of us use our iPhones, I think, these days for the timer, but like a white kitchen timer. But the kitchen timer actually only had 60 minutes on it. I don't understand. Can you enlighten me? Because he set these between 7:30 and 8:30 the night before. By noon the next day, they had not gone off. They were then found around 12:30. And the finding of those bombs is what sort of triggered the chaos on Capitol Hill. Evacuate the lawmakers. They found bombs. Kamala Harris was at the DNC. There was a bomb outside. Oh my God. But they never went off. So explain, do you have any thoughts on that timer, Jim, which it only has 60 minutes on it?
It's reflective of kind of the immaturity and, of course, whatever sites he was going to design this thing, and also perhaps limitations. He didn't want to take any chances with a spring or plunger type mechanism, which is what the Unabomber and other serial bombers used in their devices. And this was his very first one. The very first device of any of these guys is always the most amateur. Well, we think. We'll find out. Could he have had some practice ones? Usually they go into the woods or into a field somewhere and experiment with them just to make sure they work. Whether this guy did or not, maybe we'll find that out down the line. But yeah, again, it almost sounds like he had like a puzzle kit and he's following it every step of the way. He was building a car, put a little bit of gas in it, and all the component parts were there. But it really actually would never drive anyone anywhere. And I'm not trying to give him a defense here either.
I mean, it makes me wonder, like, how does a kitchen timer serve also as the trigger mechanism for a bomb? Because the timer can go off, but like, the ringing of the bell somehow triggers the bomb? That sounds like movie stuff to me.
Well, there could have been an internal wiring to it. He did have wires with alligator clips. There was a detonator, a power source, the 9-volt battery. So he had the components that certainly on the surface would make this thing work. But it still looks like, to me, and I've seen pictures of it, I haven't broken it down. And I'm not a bomb tech, but I've looked at enough of these things, certainly back in my Unabomb days and even the Austin bombing last year from afar, or several years ago. And I see how these things are put together. Some of these guys are masterful. There was a Las Vegas extortion attempt back in the early 80s. And this bomb maker was just so highly sophisticated. There was basically no way to dismantle the device or render it safe. The guy up in Erie, Pennsylvania, about 20 years ago, that had the pizza delivery guy with the lock across his neck, they couldn't find a way to detonate that either. These are what I just referenced, highly sophisticated devices. This one, J5 bomber, we'll call it, they look sophisticated. They probably would have worked with some few other mechanisms added, but the 1 hour timer right away showed me this guy really wasn't serious. He wanted to make a flashbang, perhaps, maybe a loud noise and some loud for surveillance video to pick up, some bright lights late at night, but it never happened. And that's good for all of us, of course. But and quite frankly, it may have been his goal, just to have some bright lights go off, or just leave this thing here and have people scratching their head and wondering, what the heck is this all about?
Well, mission accomplished on that latter goal, if that was it. Your thoughts on it, John?
Oh, Jim, do you want to say something else?
Well, I just want to throw in what you asked John earlier. I'm a student of history, certainly criminal justice. And without elaborating on this, the Leopold and Loeb kidnapping case in 1924 always fascinated me. I'm not comparing Cole at all to those two guys who were relatively smart college students, preppy type people, but they kidnapped a young boy just for fun, just to see if they can get away with it.
Yeah,
and
evil.
and true evil. And they both were eventually caught. Eyeglasses were left at the scene, and the police back then tracked them down, whatever. So every once in a while, you come upon a crime or a series of crimes, and I'm wondering, geez, and I'm not saying Cole even knew about these guys, ever heard of Leopold and Loeb, but it's something in the back of our mind. It's like, this is, again, a gaming situation for him, but taking it not just virtual, but IRL, as the kids say, into the real world and seeing where it goes from there. And he had his fun for 5 years. May not be so fun where he is right now, though.
Yeah, I bet that's right.
Go ahead, John.
About a month ago, Megyn, we brought in one of the FBI explosive experts who did the Oklahoma City bombing. So he did a full analysis of the lab report when we got the lab report released through Congress. And he said that these were made to look real. They were made generally how you would create to have them detonate, but they had minor imperfections that would never have allowed them to go off. They had a load. That's what means, what cash means when they're viable. If they blew up, they would have had explosive force. But there were little imperfections in the bomb that wouldn't allow it to go off even when the timer hit the triggering device. And that's kind of interesting because there is always another piece of this mystery. We had a lot of mysteries on the J6 bombing, J5, J6 bombing. But remember the first woman that calls in the RNC bomb, she's a federal government employee, but she actually works in the first responder program. She works in the program that helps first responders get their phones active in a major crisis. And she says, when I walked by the RNC location, the bomb wasn't there. When I walked back, I did see it, and it still had 20 minutes on the timer. Now, how could that be that the timer would still be at 20 minutes if it had been planted the night before? Now, either she's wrong, though she seems like a pretty sophisticated lady with some law enforcement background and a good federal job, or
and that would be an important fact to know. She'd be smart enough to realize she needs to get that one right.
That's right. Yeah, right. Yeah, because you're going to be interviewed by the FBI. You better be right, right? So I think those are important things. Did the timer stop? Was it a defective timer? Did someone come back and reset it a second time because it didn't occur the first time? One of the things I was interested in is about a week or two ago, the FBI put out footage of the bombs 1 hour before they went off. And I wondered this is when we now know they already knew Brian Cole was their main guy. Why would they do that? Were they looking for something or looking for the crowd or the public to look for the hour before? Maybe they were considering that woman's theory that maybe someone turned the timer a second time. I guess we'll learn some of that maybe today or the next week. But that woman's story, which we only got a few weeks ago and made public, is really interesting because it doesn't fit the rest of the timeline.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.